One of the things I love about my new car is the stance. However, the front end is actually just a little too low. What happens is when I brake hard or hit some big bumps, the front tire actually comes up and rubs, not just on the plastic, but it actually rubs on the fender itself. I think it's dropped just a little too much, and those factory springs are they're 34 years old, so they're probably a little old and worn out. So what I'm eventually gonna do this winter, I'm gonna take apart the entire front suspension, refresh it. However, for the time being, I'm gonna put these bad boys on. Basically, these are spring spacers, or these are called spring boosters. They're super simple. You just stick them into the spring, you give them a twist, and they lock in. It says up to 1 inch of lift, which I think is gonna be perfect. That's gonna make the car pretty level. And by locking in the spring, you're essentially taking maybe 1 or 2 coils out of the equation. So it's gonna be a stiffer overall spring, which is gonna be good for keeping my front end from diving down and rubbing. Hopefully, problem solved, because these are only 10 bucks on Amazon, which pretty good deal. First, we're gonna measure the distance from the bottom of the fender to the ground. We are at 25 3/8. Let me write that down and draw an arrow down, because it's just under 25 3/8. I'm gonna go measure the passenger side now. So it's actually only 25 1/8, which is a 1/4 inch difference. Actually a little over a 1/4 inch, because this was slightly above 25 3/8, which is interesting because I've noticed that side hits just a touch more and it's a 1/4 inch lower, so that makes sense. Let's go out and do the test drive. We'll come back and pull these tires off and install the spring spacers. I don't know what they're normally called. For me, I'm gonna call them spring spacers. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm gonna show you guys what happens when I brake hard. I live out here in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, so I don't have to worry about traffic or anything else, so it is safe, don't worry. So if your car is too low to comfortably get your jack under, build something like this, super easy, works really well. Wheel chocks, because safety first. Now it's really important to know where a good jack point is on your car. Don't be this guy. It's a good idea to break your lug nuts loose while the tire's still touching. Unless you have an impact driver, then it doesn't really matter. Also, if you've got nice rims, this socket that's coated in, I don't know if it's plastic or polyurethane or something, is great because then you don't have to worry about scratching your nice rims. What I should have done before taking all those lug nuts off was put my jack stand in. Safety first, everyone. It really is important. Sometimes I say that sarcastically, but you don't want to get crushed by your car. My other vehicle is a Ram 3500. Dealing with these tires is awesome compared to those tires. This thing is tiny and light compared to my truck tires. I love it. So there's not much room down here. Not really enough to get my full-size camera, so this is my phone. So that's the spring. And while we're down here, I'll show you guys where it's rubbing. So that's where it's rubbing on the plastic. And then this, I'm not sure if it's worn out or if it's the previous owner cut it, but it really bothers me that it rubs. So I'm hoping these spacers are gonna fix the problem. The first one we're gonna install towards the front here. Come on, baby. There we go. There she is. You can see it's sandwiched in there pretty good. know, man. Curious if I hit a bump and, well, I guess this is as far down as they go. Well, there's no tire on the, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Ha. All right. So the problem I'm running into when I'm trying to put it in on the back side is it's just wanting to slip around to the front where it's a little looser. All right, so I got it in, so the spring kind of curves. That bottom coil has the most space, and it's kind of loose, which means it's not really doing much. It would stop the spring from compressing, but it's also gonna be kind of rattly, which I really don't want. So I'm gonna take it out and I'm gonna move it up a couple coils and see if that makes a difference. Well, I tried and I could not get the other one to go in, so we're just gonna go with one and see what kind of difference that makes. And now to do the passenger side. All right, we got the other one on the passenger side. It's a little farther around to the back. Pretty solid in there. See how it goes. All right, moment of truth. A little more graceful that time. I think that was one of the springs. Probably not good. Chalk blocks. It looks higher. It's totally higher. The question will be, how does it drive? 25 and 7/8 just about. So we had about 1/2 inch. Same thing on the other side, 1/2 inch. It was at 25 and 1/8, now it's at 25 and 5/8. Let's put the GoPro on here and see if it solves our rubbing issue. I don't know if it's gonna come through on the phone, but it sounds absolutely terrible. Well, I think that was pretty dang successful. They seem to be a little on the noisy side because it's metal on metal, but the spacers are aluminum and the springs are steel, so the spacers shouldn't hurt the springs at all. But man, I slammed on those brakes way harder than I slammed on them the first time, and there was no rubbing at all. What I didn't look at, and we'll look at as soon as I get back to the shop, is what the stance looks like now. I think it's gonna be pretty level, which is gonna look pretty good. Here's the current stance after installing those. I don't know that I gave you guys a good look at the stance beforehand, but like I said, it's about a 1/2 inch higher in the front now than it was, so we're a little closer to level. Not that it has to be level, but I do think it looks a little bit better. It's really hard to hear on that GoPro video because there's so much wind, but you could see it still dipped down and got close, but there was no tire rubbing. It's super obvious when you're in the car. The trade-off is that metal on metal contact is a little noisy, so as you're going over bumps, it's real clunk, clunk, clunky, which I'm not a huge fan of. But I think it's gonna get me through the next maybe month or two of driving. I don't have that much driving left until the weather turns. So after driving with the spring spacers for a few weeks, I'm really happy with their performance. They've done a really good job of stopping the rubbing that was going on. They haven't been overly noisy, and overall, they have just performed really well. It has rubbed a few times on the passenger side when I've had someone else in the car with me, but other than that, it's almost completely eliminated the tire rubbing that was going on. And as far as the noise goes, on normal roads, under normal driving conditions, even pretty aggressive driving conditions like I told you guys I was gonna do, there's very little noise, no tire rubbing, and overall just great performance. When I'm driving on my own dirt road up to my house and there's lots of bumps, that's when I really notice the noise. I think it's because the springs are really active, moving up and down, and it's just bound to happen with the metal on metal contact. But overall, for 10 bucks, I am super happy with my purchase and would definitely recommend using them at least as a temporary solution. Long term, I'm not sure how they would hold up. I'm not gonna have them in there long term, so I really can't speak to their long-term performance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.